Okay, we're going to start by coming to sit on our mat. So what I'd like us to have here for our seated posture is either a brick block or a flat block or a couple of flat blocks. We're going to come into Siddhasana. So Siddhasana is a wide stride seated posture. Okay, so in this posture, we are taking the knees a little bit wider. We're tucking the feet in towards the body here. So this can be done, I've just got one foot in front of the other. It can be done by stacking the feet like this if you prefer. And we have our seat raised, so that allows the knees to drop a little bit lower than the hips. But we might want a little bit of support for this as well. So we can take a blanket if we need some support. So if your shins are lifted, then you want to tuck a little blanket underneath there like that, so you're nice and comfortable. Or if you have this tendency to feel like you're being pulled forward in the pose, a little blanket elevating just the knees there a little will stop you from feeling that little pull forwards. Okay, we draw the buttock flesh out and back behind us, and then that will give us a nice stable seat, and it will allow the spine to sit in its natural curvature. So we're going to start by bringing our hands onto our thighs and or to the knees. But I want us to feel a nice broadness across the chest. The shoulders are softening down, the breath is flowing. And we may close our eyes if we feel comfortable to close our eyes. And we can just feel into the positioning of the head. Notice if there's any lift of the chin or if you're overly dropping the chin forwards, and just see if you can find that little natural alignment where the head rests on top of the neck with the neck in its natural curvature. So we can tune into the spine being in a nice upright position, as if you were seeing the model of a spine, an anatomical model in its natural position. We can feel, we can tune into our own body, and if you're someone who finds visualization easy, you may even visualize the spine. So this postural alignment allows us to bring space and length to our central channel, the central energetic channel here. So that's located through the midline of the body, the plumb midline of the body. And as we align our awareness to that now, we can feel the flow of the breath just kind of tracking that midline of the body. As we breathe in, the breath is guided down in the body, and as we breathe out, the breath is guided up. And we can just feel, either we may visualize that we can take the breath directly into that channel, or that we can sort of let the breath just flow in that general direction. And if visualization doesn't come very naturally to you, it's fine to just feel into the flow of the breath. That's enough. And as we sit here, so just for a few more breaths before we take some movement. Again, this is easier if we find it easy to visualize, but if not, we can tune into this in a different way. We're going to see if we can have a sense of tuning into an inner light, wherever that might be. It might be at the heart center, it might be the entire internal body that we can visualize as light, a luminosity. And as we either tune into this inner light, whether it's a visualized light in a specific location or a general inner luminosity, or if you find that difficult, we're practicing in light. And we can feel that there is light filtering through. Even with our eyes closed, we can discern that we are in a lit environment. And through that inner light that we tune into here, we can feel that there is a quality of this light that is painless. And this is one of the methods that Patanjali, this sage, author of the Yoga Sutra in the 4th century, advises us, that leads us to samadhi, absorption. He states, Vishoka va jyotishmati, focusing our awareness on this painless or sorrowless inner light. Okay, so we'll see if we can orientate to that throughout our practice today, because it's a really wonderful way to, infuse our practice with this luminosity that takes us to absorption. But before we come out of this seated posture, we're just going to raise our arms up in a wide circle, lifting up, having a little wiggle, a little shimmy through the body. That's it, enjoying that little movement, particularly when we practice in the morning. It often feels really good to start to move the body, ease it out, take us into our new day. And we're going to cross at the wrists, turn the palms towards each other and bring the hands together now. Keeping a little tone in the belly, we're just going to simply lower our arms down, and there can be a little rolling back on the sitting bones. So there's a little rounding forwards as we tuck the chin forwards. And then as we raise our arms back up, we can feel that we rock forwards on our sitting bones to lift up, and we move into almost a back arch position. And we're just going to move through that 3 times, this little rolling back and lifting up. We're going to feel into the flow of the breath as we do this. So your breath knows how to meet these actions. Trust in that. But if you're someone who finds it quite difficult to tune into the breath, then we can guide the breath to inhale as we raise the arms up and exhale as we release the arms down. We're now going to change this cross of the wrists. So just as you uncross your wrists, we can just move the arms so we're ready to cross them in the other direction, but you might want to give the wrists a little bit of movement, but that way we can remember which cross of the wrists we had. And then we'll do the same thing again, bringing the palms in towards each other, lifting and extending up into the fingertips if we can, breathing into this, feeling the richness of this. And then let's slowly move through that action again 3 times. So there can be a little roll, a little lean back as we fold into this. And lifting up. And again, if you feel like you need a little bit more breath guidance, we can inhale as we lift up and exhale as we lower the arms down. But the likelihood is that we'll find that our body naturally does that. So it doesn't actually need us to think about how to breathe. What the body needs is, or what we need here in a yoga practice, is a sense of just really allowing the body and breath to find their own relationship, because of course they are in relationship. They don't exist without each other. Okay, now we've moved through that 3 times. We're going to release the wrists, and again there might be a little bit of movement here, and we'll bring our arms down, and you can bring your arms down like we're in a nice little sort of Bollywood dance, just giving the wrists a little bit of movement, maybe a little shimmy into the body. And then we're going to release the cross of our legs. So let's extend our legs out in front of us. You might need to get a little bit of movement into the ankles, into the knees, maybe a little pat down, a little rub down, whatever you need. And then we're going to bring ourselves up to standing. So let's come on up to standing. So we can just stand with our feet hip width apart, so we can look down at our feet, and as we look down at our feet, we're going to line the feet down through the midline of the feet. We're going to roll the shoulders back, and we're going to play with a little bit of movement. So we often rock between the feet and roll around them to sort of really find that deep connection with the floor, with the earth beneath us, but we can feed that deep connection into a lift up through the body. But feel free to even have a really good lean over to one side, lifting the heels, lifting the toes, even let the body turn into it. So play into it a little, but we are looking to then land ourselves in the center with our toes spread. We release our arms down. We keep this light tone in the belly and this lift in the chest and this broadness across the collarbones. And then we take a deep breath, and we'll come back to our little inspiration from Patanjali in that aphorism. Vishokava Jyotishmati. So we'll bring our awareness to this inner light. And we can let that inner light be even a little bit joyful. Perhaps we can find it. Okay. Let's take our arms out wide now. And lift the arms up, raise up, have a little bit of movement. Again, loosening up the body in any way you need to. We can turn into it, we can breathe into it, we can flow into it. And then I'd like you to come back to the center, and we're going to cross at the wrists again, turn the palms towards each other again, and bring the palms together. You can bend your elbows if you need to get into this. What we don't want to feel is that there's tightness in the neck. So just move the body, adjust and adapt as you need to. So yoga is really dependent on us, having some awareness, or having total awareness actually, of our body. We're not just simply going through the motions of following instructions, but we're feeling into that, and then we're responding to that. Okay, so we're going to take a little sort of half moon, a little crescent moon shape with our arms here now. So if we lean over to one side, then we're going to draw this little half moon in front of us. So keeping the arms up relatively high, we can bring the hands forwards and then lean them over, so we get this little extension through the side body, and we breathe through it, and we give to it, and we feel this as a devotional act, that we devote our whole being to this action here and now, because why wouldn't we? We could, of course, choose not to. We could let our mind drift into other things while we do this, and that's perfectly fine, and it's perfectly natural that it inevitably does that at times. But whilst we're aware, if we can choose to really bring our whole being into this, honestly, that's when yoga becomes transformative. Okay, we'll come back to the center, we'll breathe. Now, just take a little look up at your hands, your wrists, and you can see which arm is on top, because I'm going to let you release the arms. We're going to do the opposite cross of the wrist, but let's just give the arms a little movement. We'll release them down so we can just feel into that little release of the shoulders here. So any movement, maybe a little shake out, a little shimmy out, whatever you need. Find your breath. So let's really take that instruction on board. Let's find our breath together. Because the breath is a refuge. The breath will hold us, support us, nurture us. Okay, let's take our arms up. So you've remembered which arm was on top, and then you're changing the cross. I hope you've remembered. I had to think twice about that. So again, we're crossing at the wrist, we're turning the palms in towards each other, and we're just going to go through the same action again, but let's really lift up into this. So let's take this little bend of the knees that I just did, bend your elbows, and then push through the feet, extend up through the hands, feel that reach, breathe into it, and then again, let's create those little crescent moon shapes with our hands. Okay, so we can just draw this little shape from side to side, breathing into it. Feeling in as we move in this way that there is an inner luminosity. It's there. We just sometimes cover it over. Okay. Once again, we're going to bring this back to the center. We're going to release our hands, release the wrists, bring the arms down in a wide circle. Again, feel into any movement. It's intuitive. You can do whatever you like, particularly when we're in an online class. We can really do whatever we like, okay? Because there is no one there to watch us, to observe us. It's like this, I don't know where it comes from, this phrase of dance like no one's watching, yoga like no one's watching, including yourself. Okay, we're going to take a wide stride here now. So let's take our feet out wide. Let's have a breath, a clearing breath. Okay, let's turn our left toes in, lift up the heel, take the heel back, turn the right foot and leg out, and we can align our feet with each other. So this front heel lines up with the instep of the back foot. So let's just have a look at that, and let's just be really clear on that, because it just positions us so we've got the best sort of movement in the hips. We're then going to just feel into a little movement through this front knee. So we're going to bend the knee. We're going to keep the body light and in an upright position. So all of the movement is coming from the interaction of the femur within the hip joint and the interaction with the knee. So we're just bending down, but the body is staying really light and easeful here. So we're going to start to build up some strength here in the quadriceps. Now, as we take that knee forwards, I want us to make sure that the knee is tracking down through the midline of the foot. So we're not drifting forwards or drifting back. Okay, so we're really clear in that. Then we're going to come to this position where we have approximately a right angle. And if you find that you really can't get to a right angle and your knee overextends, then you probably need a longer stride. So let's just check in on that. Okay. Now we're going to take this between a little flowing adaptation of Parsvakonasana and a reverse warrior pose. Okay, so we're going to bring our arms into the movement here. So let's just take our arms out into a Virabhadrasana Dvi, warrior 2. And then we're going to bring some tone in the belly, some lift into the chest. And then our lead arm, so that will be your right arm, is going to come down as the left arm comes over, but it's going to tuck in. So we need this tone in the belly here. Okay, now we're going to move back and we're going to switch the arms around in a wide circle as we lean back. So we just let one arm cross in front of the belly and one arm extends over, but we're keeping the legs nice and stable here. And again, we're feeling into this flow of the breath. Okay, anyone feeling the thigh burn yet? I'm sure we are. So we're going to come up. So when you're ready, we'll just come back up. We'll press into the front foot. We'll lower our arms down. We'll take a breath. And then we'll turn the feet to the front. If you need to step your feet back together for a moment or two, go ahead. Take a breath. Direct yourself back to this inner luminosity. Okay, let's turn our back toes in, lift up the heel, take the heel back. Let's turn our front foot and leg out so we can have a heel to instep alignment here. We can tone the belly, we can lift the chest. And again, let's feel that we're really nice and free and sort of loose in the upper body. We are lifted, so we've got this little tone in the belly and this lift in the chest that enables the spine to stay long. But we're just going to let that front knee, so your left knee this time, again bend, but keeping the body really relaxed into this. So all of the work is here through the lower half of the body. So we're setting up conditions here for stability. Again, we just check in that extension of the knee is really clear. Okay, we're not drifting the knee from side to side. Okay, we'll come down to this position where we are looking towards this front leg being at a right angle or thereabouts. And then again, we'll take our arms out wide. This tone in the belly is going to provide the support as we move from side to side. It provides support for our lower back. So let's keep this light tone. It's like a gathering in from the outer circumference in towards the navel rather than just a pulling back. Okay, now let's fold and extend. And it's nice and steady. Again, you can feel when we move, when we start the movement, just how key to this movement the support of the abdominal muscles is. We keep our legs nice and stable and we keep our breath steady and free. Okay, and then once again, we're going to come back to the center in your own time, and we'll bring our arms out wide. We'll push through that front foot. You can feel that, I'm sure. And we'll release our arms. We'll turn our feet to the front. We'll take a breath, and then let's just walk the feet in a little closer because it's been wide for a while. And then we can just give ourselves a little shake out, a little shimmy out, maybe a little bounce out here. Tadasana, mountain pose. Let's do this with the feet in towards each other. Either they might make contact or you might need a little bit of space between the feet. And then we release our arms down. Keep this light tone in the belly, this lift in the chest. We broaden across the collarbones. And we just simply settle into this. Let your Tadasana be as rich as these stronger movements and stronger actions. We can wake up the body from stillness as well as from movement. So it's dependent on our awareness within the experience. And we can even loosen the body. So many of us are drawn to yoga asana, yoga posture, because it releases tension in the body. We stretch and release. But to become consciously still in an intelligent alignment of the body here, so we do have lift, but we also have a softening of the outer body. Even this simple action of Tadasana can create freedom. Freedom from physical tension, freedom from mental tension. Okay, let's take a little turn towards the short end of our mat. I'd like you to have a couple of blocks there, which we may need in a while. So I've got a couple of brick blocks, but you're welcome. I don't know whether you can see them actually, because I think you can see them. Anyway, I've got a couple of brick blocks there. So you're welcome to have flat blocks if that's all you've got. We're going to take a wide stride and we're going to turn towards that side of our mat now. So let's take our back toes. So we're going to take our left toes, turn them in, and we're going to turn towards the right side of the mat. Hopefully that's where you've put your blocks, but if not, turn them around to the other end. And then we can have a little bit of space here. So if we look down on our mat, down through the midline of the mat, we can imagine that we've got a little stripe of space, okay, between the feet. So we can walk that front foot a little wider if we need to. Okay. Now we're going to bend our front knee, and again, we can move into this by keeping the body nice and soft, moving back and forth like we did in our Warrior 2 position, in this Warrior 1 position. But we want the knee, again, we want it to track there, track the toes. Stay light in the body. Okay. And then when we've moved through that a few times, what we're going to do is just have the knee stacked above its own ankle, okay? And then we're going to raise our arms up from our Warrior 1 position, toning the belly, lifting the chest. And we're going to take our arms into that same movement that we did through our side angle and our reverse warrior. So we're going to bring one arm in front of the belly and the other arm can lean over. So there's a little side to side movement, and we're going to move through that again from side to side, staying lifted through the body here. Remaining free in our breath here. Okay, let's bring it back to the center, raising your arms up. We're going to lift up that back heel now from the floor and internally rotate that back leg. We're going to bring our arms down to the floor, to the inside of the foot, so we can take the foot a little wider. So we can have our arms there, positioned, hands around about shoulder width apart. And then we're going to play with just lowering the back knee down, reaching the chest forwards. It's a small action. And then lifting the back knee up and pulling back into that heel as you extend forwards into the knee. So we're just going to work into a little extension there through the groin. Let the breath flow. So it's a small action, but we can really feel it reaching into that stretch of the psoas muscle. So we'll feel that at the top of the inner thigh area. Okay, now we've moved through that a few times. We'll lift that back knee. We're going to walk our hands further forwards, and we're going to take a little step in with that back foot. This is where we're going to transfer our hands onto our blocks. I'm just going to move myself back so I know you've got a good view. So we're going to reach our hands to our blocks or bricks, and then we're going to lift that back leg up. We want a little bit of space between our foot and our bricks. And then as we've lifted that leg up, we're going to use the blocks. This gives us a little bit of height, a little bit of clearance. And we're going to let that back leg lower down, hovering it off the floor if we can, and lifting it up. Let's keep the chest lengthening forward. So there's just this little swing forwards and back, getting the hamstrings to work here through that leg, lifting it up and breathing. See if you can keep the toes pointing down rather than externally rotating that leg. Breath flows. Okay, when you next bring the foot down, bring the feet to hip width apart. So we're in an Ardha Uttanasana, this half forward fold position. We can breathe. Okay. And then just step your foot that's closest to me back so we can then walk ourselves around to the center with our feet wide. We'll take a breath or two here. Okay, we're going to walk ourselves around to the other end of our mat. So take your bricks with you. Just going to realign my mat so everything's nice and clear for you. And then we've walked around and then we're going to come up again. So let's push through that front foot, bending the knee as you need to come up to an upright position. This is where we can just check our alignment again so we can go a little bit wider with that front foot. We might lift up the back heel to get a little more internal rotation of the back leg to align our pelvis, and then place that heel down so you can bounce it out. We've got that line of space down through the midline of our mat. And then again, staying really soft in the upper body, but that softness has the support of the belly, the support of the breath. And then we can bend that front knee again and then just feel into this nice rhythmic flow. Knee tracking the center of the toes, breath flowing. That's it, just giving to it in your own time. Letting this be, a deep meditation. This is what our yoga practice should always be. Okay, we can come to raise our arms up. So we have the knee above its own ankle. We can reach forwards into the knee. We can reach into the back foot, extending back towards the heel. And then again, we're going to take that same action with the arms. So one arm's going to come down and cross in front of the belly. So we have this, it's almost like a little flamenco action, or what I imagine a flamenco dancer to be doing. And then we can take this little side flexion through the body. And we can breathe into that. And it's infused with awareness. It's even infused with joy. Okay, we'll come back to the center. We're going to come forwards again. So we're going to lean forwards. We're going to bring our hands to the floor, first of all, on the inside of the foot. So walk that front foot a little bit wider. So we're in a sort of plank position with our extended leg and our torso. And then again, we've got this firm contact through our hands, shoulder width apart, and we're just going to bend that knee of the back leg, lift the head forwards, pull the chest forwards, and then again we can lift the knee and reach back into the heel. Okay, as we lift the knee and reach back into the heel, we reach forwards into the front knee. So we're really working into that stretch of the groin, feeling into the flow of the breath. Okay, let's lift that back knee. We can just take our hand to the outside of the foot and walk the foot in. That does make it a little bit easier to transition. We can step the back foot in. We can bring our hands up onto our bricks, take them far enough forward so When you raise your back leg, and again I'm just going to move myself so you can see, when you raise your back leg, there is space here between your blocks and your foot. So that represents the length of the body. So again, with this height of the blocks, we've got this opportunity to just let the foot come down and up. So there's this little swing, we're just clearing the floor, but if you find it difficult to clear the floor, it doesn't matter if you touch the floor. The breath flows. Okay, well done. Let's bring the foot down. Let's just step the feet wide. Take a deep breath here. Give to it. Give to it completely. Intuitively feel into any movement. So we can play around here. We can bend the knees. We can roll through the shoulders. We can have a little wiggle through the hips. Okay, so we're going to take ourselves down lower, which might mean that some of you need to bend your knees. So what I want us to not do is to end up coming down lower, but sort of rounding the back like this, trying to reach our fingers to the floor. What I want us to feel is that we hinge from the hip joints, so the pelvis tilts. We're going to bring our hands down to the floor. So bend your knees as much as you need to get that reach down without hanging off your spine. You can feel the difference between hanging off the spine and pouring the body out of the pelvis. We want to pour the body out of the pelvis. Okay, let's take this into a downward facing dog. So depending on where you are on your mat, you're probably closer to the front of the mat, so you can step yourself forwards. I'm going to move my hands forwards, and then, so you can step yourselves back. So step your feet back into a downward facing dog. Hands are shoulder width apart, fingers are spread, feet are around about hip width apart. And then we're just going to play into that little extension that we get here. Move through it as you need to. There might be a little play, even leaning forwards towards a plank pose, bending the knees. Just move around, and then eventually it might be that you are content to come into the shape of downward facing dog and hold yourself there in relative stillness. But if you are finding that you're getting more from the movement, then go ahead. But if we do come into this downward facing dog, we want to deepen our hands into the floor. Get that push up through the body, that lengthening through, the drawing back of the top of the thighs, the soft flow of the breath. Okay, wonderful. Let's bring ourselves down to our hands and knees, or take a breath here, or take the toes back. If you're happy to come back and sit on your heels in Vajrasana, then please just take a little seat back. Take support if you need it between buttocks and heels or beneath the ankles. And then we just rest our hands there in our lap. We let the breath flow. Okay. I would love to hold us here for much longer, but we have Shavasana to get to. So we're going to release from this in your own time. You're going to come to lay yourselves down on your mat, as always. Our basic Shavasana position reclined is like this, but we can have our hands on the belly, on the rib cage, chest, whatever feels comfortable, but don't be like this. So we want that sort of openness across the chest, like the chest just spreads and melts to the floor. the shoulder blades come into contact with the floor. Okay, so make yourselves comfortable. You're welcome to have a bolster or something underneath your knees, of course, so that will help you if you feel any discomfort. Having a little bolster like this is really good. And then we can lay ourselves down. And we'll close our eyes. So adjust your body when you're there. Lengthen out the lower back. Feel the placement of your body here as not just a physical placement, but it's a placement of your whole being within the universe. And we relax into our own space within the universe. So if we look to tantric philosophy, it tells us that we are the universe is us. And it is possible that sometimes we experience this in a posture like Shavasana, if we allow ourselves to let go into that, let go into everything. But commonly we often feel ourselves as a separate entity to our surrounding environment, to other beings. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be a contraction. Even if we feel ourselves as being separate, we can feel that as an interaction with our surrounding environments and other beings. That we're not a separate bubble, but we are in relationship with the universe and other beings. And that's inseparable. So as we let the breath settle here, we let the weight of the body release into the floor. We allow ourselves to just simply give to this. We can again orientate our awareness to this inner light. A blissful inner light, a pain-free inner light. Even if it's just a little ember of that, that's enough. So you are free to remain in Shavasana for as long as you have. But I'm aware that some of you will need to start moving out of this now, so we can take a slower, deeper breath. We can bend our knees and place our feet to the floor. Maybe naturally readjusting your pelvis there. And then perhaps rolling over onto one side if you're happy to roll to both sides. You can roll away from the screen and then you may roll to your other side and come up from there in your own time. So there might be little explorations, little movements, little stretches, deeper breaths So just a little pause, a little moment of appreciation and gratitude that we have this body that's able to have all of this rich experience and point us back to our own essence. And then we'll come and sit, we'll bring our hands to our heart center here. Okay, and we may take a single chant of Om. So let's take a breath in to prepare. Om. Thank you all very much. Namaste, Namo Vaha. Reverence to you all. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you very soon, hopefully. Lots of love.